Police rushed to 9 Buchanan Street, Hamilton at about 2 p.m. after a caller warned of some bombs under this house. Electricians had been working on the property's wiring when they came across 2 World War aerial bombs with fins on them. Police, ambulance and firemen were soon on the scene and the street was cordoned off. Some children found it hard to believe there could be any real danger, but Senior Constable Bob Oliver says the bombs are dangerous because they are in deteriorating condition.
It is a very dangerous situation. We feel they are too deteriorated to move them at this stage, but they are still looking into that situation.
The Army Bomb Disposal Unit from Singleton climbed under the house and had a good look at the weapons. They doubted they could remove the bombs without setting them off. Police then evacuated a very large area. Residents were moved out, including a woman who lived opposite. She was bedridden with a broken hip. The woman was moved by ambulance to a nearby hospital. Police then continued to knock on doors to ensure that everyone else was evacuated.
We've got an explosive in the house over the road there. The situation's come that the Army is going to try and dispose of it.
The major capital works project for the port during 1987-88 is the construction of new mechanical and electrical workshops at Carrington. A development application for the site at the bottom of Fitzroy Street is before Newcastle City Council. A Maritime Services Board spokesman said it's hoped tenders will be called shortly for the $6 million complex, half of which will be spent during the current financial year. Demolition work has been taking place on the land, which combines some already held by the MSB and a parcel formerly under the control of the Public Works Department. Other major projects include an upgrading of the inflammable liquids berth, number 2 Throsby, incorporating improvements to firefighting and electrical services. The spending there this year, $1 million. Another berth to be upgraded is the alumina unloader area at number 3 Kooragang. Here, land bridges will be built, enabling heavier vehicles to negotiate the area, meaning alternate cargoes will be handled at the spot. The MSB describes this as a common user berth, and the work will increase its flexibility.
In the Newcastle district, stocks in supermarkets are depleting rapidly. A spokesman for Woolworths said some of their stores had already run dry of packaged goods and tin products, while others were still operating on low supplies. Coles are also feeling the pinch. A management spokesman said Belmont is the hardest store hit and its closure was imminent. He said although they stocked a large supply of fresh fruit and vegetables not affected by the dispute, it would be difficult to remain open with only half the volume of goods being sold. Most shops said they would await the outcome of the hearing now before the full bench of the Arbitration Commission regarding stand-down notices, before they made any decision about how many employees would be stood down, and that they would try to keep all workers gainfully employed for as long as possible. The Australian String Ensemble was formed after the success of the renowned Junior Strings of Melbourne, gaining international acclaim following overseas tours. As the young performers grew in age, so too did the troupe, and 2 years ago, an offshoot was sprouted under the new and a little older Australian String Ensemble. At St John's Anglican Church last night, the teenage orchestra performed works by the great composers, including Mozart, Bach and Vivaldi. Under the musical direction of Brian Finlayson, the ensemble is midway through its state tour, visiting Sydney, Newcastle, Albury and Canberra. Proving themselves among Australia's finest musical ambassadors, both the Junior Strings of Melbourne and the Australian String Ensemble will embark on another European tour next year. Disunity surfaced at the Gretley Colliery on Tuesday when Newcastle Wallsend attempted to introduce new work practices. When a deputy was asked to take a crib break during a pillar extraction, workers walked off the job in protest. The company wants to drop previous inflexible manning arrangements, but the unions are standing firm. Yesterday, Gretley miners met at the Wallsend Bowling Club to work out their next step. The Coal Industry Tribunal has ordered the company to allow the men to work under existing award conditions. The miners voted to return to work, but by late yesterday, in a turnabout move, the men walked off the job, leaving Gretley Colliery idle.
Well, basically the company is trying to invoke new work practices against the Coal Industry Tribunal's decision of last week, and we're trying to get back to work on the Coal Industry Tribunal's recommendation of yesterday and last week, which is that the status quo remains, which in our opinion is pre-stoppage conditions, and this is all we're trying to do.
The operational study of Shortland Electricity is one of the most thorough ever undertaken in the local government field. The report was commissioned by the management, who said it was well aware of deep-seated problems in daily operations, morale and public image. A questionnaire given to all 350 employees revealed fundamental problems in the growth of Shortland Electricity's effectiveness, including senior management perceived by general staff as being distant from staff. At most levels of management, there are weaknesses in morale. Shortland Electricity's public image could be improved. Muswellbrook and Maitland still identify with their previous councils, and staff resent the control from Newcastle. And the systems and procedures at Shortland, which determine clerical and administrative processes, stifle initiative. But the study also revealed that most employees strive to provide their customers with a high quality of service. The report recommended that changes need to be made to the attitude of managers towards their role and staff. The non-cash reward system needs to be reviewed, as does the development of personnel systems supporting managers. General Manager of Shortland Electricity, Warren Elliott, said staff at all levels will now be called on to improve the company's organisational climate, and commended the authority for its courage in undertaking such a project.
The company issued details of its cutbacks today, saying 532 employees worked their last shift. Of these, 127 accepted voluntary retirement, with the 405 retrenchments being made necessary by the need to improve productivity and reduce costs. Coal and Allied General Manager Colin Harrison said lower export prices mean rationalisation is necessary to prevent total mine closures. The C&A operations to divest themselves of staff, in descending order of numbers, are West Wallsend with 107, 89 at Wallsend Borehole, 87 at Cheyne Valley, 48 at Stockrington, 19 at Hexham and Mooney, 16 each at Wallara and Richmond Vale, and 4 at Catherine Hill Bay. BP Coal Australia will retrench 288 overall. 217 notices took effect today, with the Hazeldean underground mine at Ravensworth closing altogether, and reduced production from the company's 2 open cuts, Howick and Foybrook. The other 71 jobs will go when production equipment has been relocated. Newcastle Wallsend, currently involved in a series of Coal Industry Tribunal hearings over work practices, has no plans to retrench any workers. Managing Director Argo Carew said if rationalisation plans go ahead, the company will be viable without sackings.
It's been a top year for the 16-year-old. She won the Queensland Open at Gladstone in June, then beat the number 1 ranked American under-16 player to help Australia win the Maureen Connolly Brinker Cup, and was also a member of the Australian team that finished 2nd overall in the McDonald's Challenge. To win the World Youth Cup, Rachel and her partner Joanne Fall beat teams from Korea, Argentina, West Germany and finally Russia. Both girls had to play a singles match followed by doubles. It was in the doubles the pair were invincible, winning every game.
Well, after that McDonald's International Challenge in the Entertainment Centre wasn't too good. We didn't mix together because it was our first match. And after that, we just got talking together and we communicated really well. And that's what you need in doubles work. And we just got to the net really early in the play, and that's why we won it, really.
In the singles, Rachel only lost one of her 4 matches. One game she didn't expect to win was against Christina Tessie, who is the world's number 10 ranked under-19 player. Rachel easily beat the Argentinian 6-3, 6-4.
When I went on the match, I thought, just you've got nothing to lose against this girl. She's got a higher ranking than what I've got. I haven't got a ranking yet. And I was so happy to win it. I was just jumping everywhere.
Next on Rachel's busy schedule will be the Newcastle District titles tomorrow, then to Adelaide next week for the South Australian Hardcourt Open.
Janelle.
Stop that, man.
Today's event was part of the Lake Macquarie Games and attracted a class field of athletes from the Hunter, Central Coast, North Coast and Sydney. Starting and finishing at Spears Point Park, the course was raced over a 1 kilometre swim, 40k cycle and 10 kilometre run. First out of the water and onto their bikes were Kevin Thompson, Craig Botcher and Rick Pallister. With so many competitors, bike accidents were inevitable. This pair failed to finish after clipping wheels and coming to grief. One of the first to the run section was Sydney's Greg Welsh. His specialty is the run, and he careered away from the rest of the field to win in 1 hour, 53 minutes and 27 seconds. Welsh's win follows recent victories in the Allura Half Marathon, Palm Beach to Manly Marathon, and third placing in the Australian Ironman Triathlon. His next big event is the world's biggest triathlon, the Hawaii Ironman, early next month. Second to finish was Chipmunk Fraser, and third, Stephen Wade. First lady home was Tiffany Hutchison of Sydney. The Regional Bodybuilding Association of New South Wales has only recently been formed to coordinate the sport in this state. The new association hopes to be affiliated internationally in the near future, with today's Nationals their biggest contest to date. Heats were held this morning in the auditorium of the Newcastle Workers Club, with the finals expected to finish shortly. At the conclusion of the finals, an Australian team will be selected to compete in the Mr. and Miss Universe titles in the United States next month. Meanwhile, the Lake Macquarie Judo Championships were held today at the Gateshead High School. Over 100 competitors took part from as far away as Singleton and Sydney. Competition divisions range from 35 to 95 kilograms in the boys and men and 27 to 75 kilograms in the girls and women's. Specially struck Lake Macquarie Games medals were presented to the top 3 in each division.
The head-on collision between this Valiant Charger and a Ford sedan occurred at about 1 p.m. today on the Pacific Highway, about 5 kilometres north of Raymond Terrace. Tangled wreckage and glass was strewn across the road. The Ford was towing a trailer sailor which appears to have somersaulted on impact and ended up about 7 metres down the road on its roof. 2 family groups comprising 11 people were in the vehicles and 8 were injured in the accident. One of those was a 19-month-old girl who was taken by the Westpac helicopter to the Mater Hospital with spinal injuries. She is in a critical condition. Bodybuilders and their fans all packed into the Newcastle Workers Club last night to watch 25 competitors battle it out. As well as competing in different divisions, they were also vying for the title of overall champion, to know that in the judges' eyes their body was the most perfect. Competitors were judged on a range of criteria, including muscular development, balance of physique and presentation. And it's not only men in their prime who were competing. The oldest competitors were in the Masters division, with one entrant being 66 years of age. His goal is to compete until he's 70. Women also battled it out, as did the pairs. Perhaps the toughest competition of the night came in the 75 to 85 kilogram division. In this division, Kevin Thompson from Mackay romped home. He teamed up in the pairs with women's champion Jean Wilson and went on to win the title of national champion. Last night, a team was also selected to compete in the Mr. and Miss Universe titles to be held in the USA next month. Tonight we'll bring you the latest on the local council elections. Today it became clear that Lake Macquarie's former mayor Jeff Pasterfield has definitely been pipped at the post by Ivan Welsh. We will also bring you an interview with Cessnock's new mayor, Marie Callaghan.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
In Newcastle, real estate has been selling at a steady pace since late last year. According to most agents, it's not so much the state but the federal budget which has helped properties to be sold at a faster pace. Lower interest rates and the reintroduction of negative gearing have opened the way for buyers outside the region, in particular Sydney, to begin investing in the more affordable local real estate market. Vice Chairman of the Newcastle Division of the Real Estate Institute, Noel McFarlane, predicts an increase in market prices and a decrease in properties coming up for sale. He believes the local market will remain a stable one.
The market hasn't shown the same signs that Sydney has shown at the moment in terms of the large increases in property values and the panic buying that seems to be taking place in Sydney at the moment. But the market's a little busier at the moment. Properties are selling a lot quicker. It's fair to say that 8 or 9 months ago it was taking some 3 or 4 months and longer to sell a property that now is only taking 2 or 3 weeks. But it is a little bit busier than what it was some 8 or 9 months ago.
And so the real estate market seems to be one for both buyers and sellers, with properties changing hands so quickly and the inevitable increase in prices as predicted by the Real Estate Institute. Local vendors are expecting a healthy and significant increase in business.
At present, commercial trawling north of Sydney is confined to the relatively shallow waters of the continental shelf. Australia's 200 nautical miles of territorial waters, restricted to foreign vessels, lies relatively untouched except for deep-sea line fishing. The federal government believes it may in fact be the basis for a valuable export industry and has initiated a special program to research its potential, from just north of Sydney to the tip of the Cape. The distances involved will mean the boats must be able to stay at sea in all weather and be more like ships than these conventional trawlers. Special licences will be granted to those wanting to trawl in the area, the only proviso being that they must trawl at depths in excess of 900 metres and carry a government observer. Peter Morris, now Minister for Resources, who announced the development plan, says this way the fishermen get what they want and the government is able to cheaply assess the area's worth.
If there are fish supplies there, as we believe, then we can organise on a developmental basis the fishing. That can bring added export income to an industry that's already producing almost $600 million a year for Australia.
As a major port in the area affected by the announcement, Newcastle may soon be feeling the effects of the deepwater trawling. One local company which welcomes the news is Parkfish. Established just 10 years ago, Parkfish now employs 20 staff and supplies a growing market for fresh Australian fish in Japan. Trevally, caught off the coast of Newcastle today, will be in the Japanese markets tomorrow. The trevally is iced and trucked to Sydney before being flown to Japan, where it fetches $10 a kilo. For abalone, freshness isn't so vital, so it's sent by sea and brings up to $35 a kilo when it arrives. According to Parkfish International Marketing Manager Leo McDonald, there's still plenty of room for expansion. He says the plans to bring in deep-sea trawling will give companies like Parkfish access to more overseas markets and contribute to the local economies.
The port like Newcastle, as the Minister said, would increase greatly the input of fish here, possibly to the tune of about 500 tonne per week. Also, our export dollar would be increased to, once again I say, probably to the tune of 20 million a year. And the main thing I firmly believe in is that we'd increase our staff possibly by about 100 people.
The multi-purpose centre, destined to be built at Spears Point, was officially given the green light at the beginning of this month. The federal government has promised a $1 million bicentennial grant towards its construction, but more than $2 million still has to come from the council itself. Now it may remain only an artist's impression. There was outcry from some sections of the community over such a large amount of money being made available for the centre, and many independents made it the focal point of their election campaign. Ivan Welsh, the independent who defeated Mayor of 10 years, Jeff Pasterfield, says he believes Saturday's vote was the electors' referendum against the centre. At least 9 other independent aldermen have made the council, and Mr Welsh says he will be doing all he can to cancel the plans. He's already requested the town clerk to extend the deadline for tenders for 1 month to give the council time to reconsider its decision.
In tonight's news, a police breakthrough into a Newcastle murder earlier this week. A 45-year-old invalid pensioner was found dead in a blood-spattered room. He'd been there for 4 days. For all the news, join us tonight at 6.